one of today's top news stories as the government has announced a plan to tackle the mental health crisis among our children by teaching them how to have more grit to deal with life's ups and downs. The proposal is for schools to hold sessions for students with issues like anxiety and low mood, with attendance and behaviour hubs also providing extra support. So, Nadia, do we need to teach our children to be more resilient?
I mean, I think it's just one of those things that you're trying to do as a parent, aren't you? Day in, day out. And I think sometimes I have failed in that... I thought I'd failed in that journey because I think my mum was a brilliant mum, but she was a very 70s mum, so everything was like, well, you're navel-gazing, don't think about it, just get on with it. And she was very like that, and I really... You know, she really was a great mum. But I think sometimes I went the other way and was, like, maybe a bit too soft and a bit too soppy. That was my worry. But do you know what? I'm really surprised by my kids at how resilient they have become. So my answer to this is I don't know. I just don't know. But I can't imagine how a lesson in school is going to teach you to be resilient, because I do think it's a day in, day out thing as a parent where you're ebbing and flowing and making mistakes and trying here, pushing them there and then maybe not enough there. So it's a real balancing act the whole time, isn't it?
I don't know if it's necessarily one lesson, but I mean, the stats are that 20% of our young people are experiencing mental health issues, which is causing them not to attend school.
But that will be...
And if they don't attend school, then their chances in life are going to be the poorer.
But that will be in a large part down to social media, which is very different. So, like, you know, we didn't deal with that when we were kids. So when I was a kid, on a Saturday, I lived on a big council estate. There were some garages by the woods. I'd go into those woods at 9 in the morning with all my mates, with some sandwiches.
Don't tell us anything you're going to regret here.
Build a den, whatever, and I'd be home by 6 for my tea. And in between those hours, my mother would just go, Jane's in the woods with her mates, having a laugh, building dens, whatever. And we wouldn't allow our kids to do that now because we're all too terrified.
And you learn a lot through that sort of play.
You learn it. You fall over, you cry, you get better, you have a fight with your friends, you haven't got your mum going, I'll sort this out.
Did we have better mental health?
Yes, I think we had much better mental health, but I think because we didn't have social media.
Myleene, you kind of grimaced at that.
I feel sorry for schools now because what are they doing now? They're teaching kids to clean their teeth, they're potty training them. They're now dealing with their mental health, then they've got to teach them history, this, that, the other. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know, but the problem is they're not going to school.
Ban
and it's getting them to go to
in school.
So do you think that's it? Do you think that our mental health... Well, it's popular.
Yeah, because I think that's definitely one aspect of it. By the way, the grimace, I didn't mean to have a grimace.
Well, you reacted, sorry.
Well, yeah, I don't think that we knew what mental health was. It didn't have a name, but I do think people were struggling and overwhelmed and they just didn't know why. They didn't even know what that feeling was. Ultimately, we've got a government saying that children need more grit. Well, where does grit come from? What is it they're actually trying to label? And I think that if you want to have that endurance, that comes from having a toolkit, because you don't know what life is going to throw at you. So how can you endure trials and tribulations when you don't even know what those are going to be and how to deal with them when they come along? So you have to give them coping mechanisms. You have to give them a toolkit. You have to give them... Confidence comes from having... not feeling helpless.
So when you say a toolkit, what do you mean?
Just being able to be ready, I suppose, for the inevitable or the unexpected. So can you look after yourself? Can you look after your mental health? Can you look after your physical self? Can you have the tools in place? Do you know...
if you suffer from anxiety, helping you, like, what could you use if you're starting
as opposed to just going, come on, you can do it. My dad always said, you know, get back up. He is right. But also, how do you help a child get back up? So it's all very well and good going, make sure you get a job. But if they don't have the tools to get the job, you need to impart those tools on them. I think it's almost laughable that a government would turn around and say that they need grit when that comes from taking accountability, not having blame, understanding what your circumstance is. And yet nobody in government ever takes accountability for anything. So... And
it's such a complex set of circumstances you need, isn't it, with a child to build resilience and stamina.
Don't you think now everything, the world is just like... You're being bombarded with information.
Yeah,
But then they don't stop. They don't take accountability for the social media. So the government, you're saying it's social media, it's phones. Well, then why don't they regulate that?
It's rolling news. It's like knowing everything about everything. You're just bombarded constantly. There's no space to just like be your
think
and so that
own
simpler life that you're talking about, Jane,
space.
we're not going to go back to that simpler life. We're just not.
No.
You know, I mean, you can't put the genie back in the
But
bottle.
that's why I think
So
schools
how do you
would
go
be a very
forward
good
from
place
now?
to ban phones.
Teach a child how to fail. Teach a child that when you fail, that's where your biggest lessons are. I say to my kids all the time.
So we got too soft with our kids?
No, but your biggest successes come from your fails, just, you know, the dark beforehand. So how am I going to get myself out of this situation? And if you've got a child who is, as many are, 40% living below the breadline, if they can't even have a nice, clean uniform to get to school with, you know, it's no wonder they're not going to want to go to school.
And I hate to bring up the word, but we are still totally ignoring that children were locked inside for almost 2 years and then they were told to recover very quickly. And then I also think we underestimate how many kids smoke weed, and I think that is a huge problem in young people. It's so available, it's so easy to get. The way that we eat now, young people eat takeaways, like... That's what I mean. There's so many...
But is that a response to poor mental health?
Yeah, I think all these things...
But
that's why I feel worried about a hub.
But it does make a difference if it's the cause of their mental... Well,
no, because
the hub, I don't think we should get
exacerbates
stuck on that. I mean, basically what they're saying is we've got an issue here. We've got 20% of kids who are suffering mental health issues to the extent that they're not going to school, and we've got to get kids to school.
This is cumulative. We all have to sort it out. So all of these issues all stem from one thing, and that's accountability. What is the problem? How do we break it down? Like chunks of the elephant. So if you've got children suffering from mental health and worries and seeing things on social media and worrying what's going on in the greater world, we all have that responsibility because we're all part of it.
No
it's not
exercise.
Just school.
No exercise. So many schools do PE one day a week. We know that one of the best things you can do for your mental health is to get outside and to move. And I'm sorry, so many teenagers now just don't move. They move the minimum. When you think, even when you were little and older, we were always outside.
But I mean,
speaking of children who move the minimum, I'm sorry, girls, I'm going to move this on because we're out of time.
OK.
And I just spotted the most brilliant segue there for children who are not moving enough.
Give it to us.
Your child, Myleene. Look at this.
I love this.
Little Apollo.
Right, so I'd just like to give you some context here. While I'm in a ball gown and trainers, carrying a 5-year-old up the steps of the Royal Albert Hall. I was hosting VE Day, and my son came, and he came and waved a flag and had ice cream and met Tim Peake, because he's been doing a project at school on Tim Peake, so he got to meet a real-life astronaut, and then all of the veterans and seeing Land of Hope and Glory, and it was all just a bit too much at the end, so he sort of passed out in my dressing room at the end, and while I was just packing my bags. So I carried him out. You know, it was like 11 o'clock at night, he'd fallen asleep, and it was interesting because it was a sort of 50-50 on my social media. Many were saying, yay, she did it in a ball ground and trainers, how lovely that he met Tim Peake and had a great night. And others were saying that child should have been in bed.
Miserable.
I don't think he should have been in bed. I must admit, I would have made mine walk.
Oh!
I mean, I would have.
He was asleep.
Well, I'd wake him up. I mean,
That was one of my favourite things when I was a kid, though. You'd go somewhere where the adults were, you'd have a great time before sleep, and that lovely feeling of being picked up and put in
I'd sometimes pretend to be asleep so I could get carried out of the car.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, you know, you could have dotted along. You'd have woken him enough so he could walk, and then in the car, and then he'd fall asleep
Do you
again.
know what? I
See, you're talking about resilience. Are you pampering him?
No, you can't
I'm being resilient. I'm doing the weights.
Yes, I know,
to
but
be
are
able
you
to...
making him resilient?
Do you know what? I think to have a safe environment around you, to know your mum's going to lift you up and carry you through that. We carry our children in different ways.
I think you can't spoil with love. Do you know, it's so funny the other day, my youngest was just, who's 17, she was sat on the sofa and I went over and gave her a kiss. She must have thought I was such a weirdo because I got a whiff of that smell of when they're really small and warm, you know, and I went... and I just went into her neck and I couldn't stop sniffing because it was like, oh, I just want that feeling again where you just go and then I just...
Look, I've got a 17-year-old. Obviously, I can't carry her now, but I miss that stage. And I've got a 14-year-old and she's even taller than me and I miss that stage.
Yeah.
I know, but is that about us?
Maybe, but having that chance to revisit that with him and to be able to hold on to know... I think I think my daughters didn't get the best version. I was in survival and I was learning on the job. And with my son, I feel like I know that it's not going to last forever, this stage, and I'm really trying to hang on to it. So maybe it is, but we all win.
Is it so wrong? I mean, being a mum is really hard work. It's really boring a lot of the time. It's expensive. Can we not just sometimes have something just for us? Can we not sniff their neck a bit longer?
What was that thing you were saying you did this morning?
Oh,
with your kids, show me.
So this is a kind of... if you still want to carry your kids or have a cuddle with your kids in the way
Slightly
that they were
nervous
small...
now.
Hang on, am I right with the heels? Right, just lift up... Just and hang.
I am hanging!
Put your head on me.
No, you can hold on.
I don't think she was up for that.
What was that all about?
Your battery pack was in my chest bone.
So imagine you really need your mummy.
Yeah.
Put your head on me. Come on, relax. Relax. There you go. Yeah. Isn't that nice? Because you know what? Being a teenager is so hard.
OK. All right, that's enough. Thank you.
It's hurting.
Yeah, I'm sticking to my original point. Make them walk.